Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here, and I am back for a channel update video, kind of our monthly topic video. So we're going to go through a little channel update and just a few things that are going on with me and the channel and stuff like that right now. And then I also had a couple of other topics I wanted to chat a little bit about today. The Apple keynote from, God, yeah, it was earlier this week. I don't know, time just seems to be standing still and flying at the same time. We're still in that weird time vortex right now. But talk a little bit about that. And then I also wanted to talk about a couple of other blindness topics for today. So, we'll start by going through just, a few channel updates. Things are going really well for the channel. Seeing a few new subscribers here and there. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking out the channel, the videos. Everything is divided into playlists, so you can find what you're looking for. I do unlock content every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Wednesday and Saturday being the main unlock days for new content, and Mondays are kind of reserved for releasing some of the archived streams that I do over on Twitch. So usually on the weekends, I do also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, if you want to follow me there as well. It will announce when I go live on Twitch. And you can also follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, and I will also post there when I go live or when I post new videos to this channel, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the channel is doing well. Trying to mix things up with a variety of different content. We've got some low vision spotlights, we've got some shooters, got our hardware review of our Xbox One controller right there. We have our accessible game demo that we have here. Dead Fright, which I should also mention, is currently in a Kickstarter stage right now. You can go to Kickstarter and look up Dead Fright, one word, and support that game if you want to see an audio kind of a survival horror based game. I did back it. I checked out the demo and hey, let's support the developers that are trying to develop audio content. So we have that. There's a lot of cool things coming up on the channel. Hopefully, I'm thinking this Wednesday, as promised, I've got a cool assistive technology hardware review video going up. I do have it recorded already. We have quite a few fall games coming out in the next month or so. We have Amnesia Rebirth or Reborn, or I forget what it's called. But we have a new Amnesia game coming out literally within the next couple of days. So that'll be an interesting thing either to cover on the channel or on Twitch. We have Cyberpunk, of course, which in theory I should be able to play on my current rig. Yeah. I'm glad to hear the system requirements for that aren't as steep as I once thought they were going to be. We have Watchdogs Legion, which I'm really sort of curious about. And I'm very curious about its accessibility features, what it may or may not have as well. Because another Ubisoft game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this past week just got announced to have a lot of accessibility features in it. And I think, I don't know for certain, but it sounds like a lot of things in it are going to be at least mostly playable to a blind gamer. From what we're hearing, most of the, not just main menus, but like in-game menus and user interface may have text-to-speech. I don't know how far that's going to go. Like, I don't know if it's going to have like all the upgrade trees or the the map screen, being able to read the waypoints and stuff on the map. But there's audio cues in-game. I listened to a little bit of the Breakdown Walls podcast where Brandon talked about it. He actually got a chance to look at an early build of it. Lucky dog. But yeah, so we're starting to see more big AAA profile games. I mean, we got The Last of Us, we've got Assassin's Creed, and like I said, I don't know what Watchdogs is going to have. We haven't heard a peep on Cyberpunk, and I'm a little more skeptical there. As cool as that game is going to be, as much as I really want to see what that game is like, they haven't really said a peep about accessibility. I think there was like some vague mention to subtitles or something on one tweet that they did a while back. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to get much in the way of accessibility. Now, I would absolutely love to be proven wrong, but those are the three games that I'm like the major AAA games that I'm kind of excited for, at least in some form. I love the Vikings idea because I think just that whole like Viking warfare sort of a thing, I think that's just a really cool premise. And, I really haven't gotten to play a lot of the Assassin's Creed games. I've been meaning to play Origins and Odyssey, but I just haven't gotten around to it because they're just such big games. I don't know when I'm going to have time to go through them. But yeah, that one. And I love the idea of recruiting everyone in Watchdog Legions. Like you can literally like find anyone off the street, see what kind of perks they have, see what kind of skills they have and quirks and all that stuff. And that just sounds really interesting to me. But again, I don't know how deep some of that kind of augmented reality in-game UI is going to be as far as accessibility goes. So we will see. But there's also a lot of other indie stuff that's coming out. There's hopefully we'll get some first-person shooters in full version, if nothing else, early access. Like I said, I've covered a few of them already. A few of them I've yet to cover, but we've got this nice kind of revival of these retro shooters, and I'm all about that because, like I said, I've never gotten into the Call of Duty and that all that much. So being able to play more of these classic shooters, I'm very interested in. And of course, we have our new consoles coming around the corner. We're just under, believe it or not, under a month away from two new consoles coming out this year. And I am not going to be getting either one at launch. There's things that sound promising about both of them. Sony's got some exclusive games that I'm going to want to check out eventually. And so once we get, a tipping point of games that I want to play and I learn more about the accessibility and all that kind of stuff, I'll probably pick up a PS5 eventually. Maybe they'll even come out with maybe there'll even be like a slim PS5 that isn't, like 100 pounds and like the size of a. I mean, I don't even know. The thing is huge. I know it has to be for cooling and that, but I'm like, damn, like this thing I guess is supposed to be just ginormous. I mean, the Xbox Series X, I don't know if I'll get one of those or not. I mean, yes, I love the console. I know it's going to have narrator and things like that, but a lot of their stuff is going to also be coming to PC. So whenever Nvidia and partners are able to get their stock going again, I would say toward the end of the year, maybe early next year, I'm going to be upgrading my PC gaming rig again. And so anything that kind of comes to the Xbox is going to come to the Windows 10 store. I can play a lot of those first-party games on my computer. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we got new consoles coming out. I mean, yeah, I would love to cover them for the channel, but like I said, the everything you're looking at. I think the PlayStation 5, I would probably go digital because the storage amount is the same whether you get the $300 or the what is it, $400 and $500 one. The storage is the same, Now, the Xbox, I would get the Series X if I were to get one, because then I would still have physical storage if I wanted to watch a Blu-ray or a DVD on my TV. And I don't like the fact that you get like half the storage in the Series S. I would be the one to download quite a few games, and if I were to get one. So, as big as games are, I definitely want to have at least a starter of a terabyte instead of 500, 512 gigabytes. So, I think that's the way that I would roll if I were to eventually get these consoles. I would get the digital PS5 and then the Series X for the Xbox if I were to do it, for those reasons. So, yeah, that's kind of an update on the channel. I'm going to try to cover as many of the new games that I'm interested in or that I can get my hands on as I can. I mean, the thing is with these new consoles, yeah, they're new consoles and everything. I would love to be able to cover them, like if anyone can hook me up, I wouldn't argue. But, I mean, there's really not that killer game. A lot of the games that are coming out for these new systems are also cross-platform. They're supported on the PC. They're supported on PS4, Xbox One. So, there's just not really that incentive. There's not really that game that I cannot play on a current gen system to make me want to rush out and pay for a new system at launch. So, you may have to look elsewhere for some early launch opinions and stuff on the systems themselves, because I'm probably not going to be getting one this year. And I will talk about the Apple event in a little bit. But before we do that, I also want to mention a couple of blindness topics on today's update video. So, in addition to October being, the Apple announcements, and we're a month away from new consoles and stuff, it is also White Cane Awareness Day was this past week. And October is also Disability Employment Awareness Month, which I think is a really good idea, because disability in general, people are not able to get jobs near as easily. I mean, yes, I will absolutely say that it is harder to get a job as someone with a disability than otherwise. There are certain types of jobs that we can't do, but there are also, for many, many, many jobs that we can or should be able to do. We have the non-disabled community. They have these misconceptions and underestimations and low expectations of what we can actually do. So, there's a lot going on there. And I'm going to really kind of mainly focus on blind and low vision, because obviously that's what I'm familiar with. But if there's anything positive that we can take from this whole awful corona business that's been happening over the past several months this year, I'm hoping that it is that businesses will hopefully start to recognize and continue to acknowledge that, hey, you don't have to necessarily plant your butt in an office chair in a cubicle 8 hours a day, 5 days a week in order to do a specific job. Yes, there are some jobs where you have to be in a specific location because you're meeting with people, or you are, monitoring some specific equipment that you have to be there. But a lot of jobs can be done anywhere, remotely. They can be done at home. They can be done, wherever. And if the one thing that this whole lockdown and coronavirus stuff has taught us, I mean, a lot of us have known it for years and years and years, but, management and business and government, they're just like, nope, we've done this for the last 100 years and we're just going to still do it because we know that it works. And change is bad. I don't know. But, if it's really taught us anything, is that a lot of people are working from home. I've been working from home since March 16th. My last day in the office was, yeah, it was a Friday. Friday, March 13th. Ooh, Friday the 13th. Yay. But yeah, I've been working from home for over 6 months now. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I've been doing it. A lot of our office has been doing it. A lot of other businesses have been doing it. And things haven't been going to a screeching halt. Yes, we've had to be creative. We've had to figure out how to meet with some clients virtually more. We've had to, yes, when we are able to go back and meet with people in person, doing a technology assessment with somebody will be much easier and probably much better to do in person because people can try the technology. They can see the stuff a lot easier, but we're working with what we have. And there's a lot of jobs, whether it be clerical, data entry, office work. I mean, there's loads of different types of jobs that can be done remotely. And then you have people that, for whatever reason, can't leave their house. I mean, if, if people have some chronically, are chronically ill, they have disabilities where they really can't leave their home. They need to be with a caretaker. They need to be with some kind of a, personal care assistant. They could still, be productive and earn a living from home, but they've just really not been given the opportunity because everybody wants you to come into the office. Well, we've proven that a lot of businesses are able to work remotely and the world is not shutting down. We have to think of things differently, but we can still do them. So, you know, I see this on Twitter all the time. People saying things, some of the disabled community saying things like, we've told you for this for years that we can do these jobs remotely. We can do these jobs from home. But they just refuse to acknowledge that. And they say, you have to be in this certain location, this certain office. So for people who can't get out, I really hope that once we do start going out in the community and a lot more people do return to the office if they so choose, I hope we are also given the opportunity, the option to maybe work partly at the office, work partly at home, or have a position that can just work remotely, that can do phone calls, emails, computer stuff from home, because then a lot more people with significant disabilities could work, that could be really helpful. And then once we're able to get out in the neighborhoods again, get out in the community again, and offices open up again a lot more, I'm hoping that more blind people, low vision, people with low vision will be able to find jobs as well. Because, if transportation is the trickiest thing, and that's where, again, let's say that somebody lives, blind and low vision. Transportation is always the tricky part. I mean, if you live in a big city, you're often okay because now you have a lot of times public transportation, you have services like Uber and Lyft, you have taxis, all of those types of things. Now, I've lived in big cities before where I lived in a section where public transportation wasn't that good because for whatever reason a bus route didn't go down this area of the neighborhood or didn't go down the street. So that wasn't super great. But you have a lot more chance to have transportation options. Like, I can't tell you how much Uber and Lyft have helped, just spontaneous transportation needs. Oh, I really need to go to mail something, or I need to go to the store and grab something that I have to get done today, or, God forbid, I have to go to the doctor. Just being like, oh, I can just basically get in a car and go. You make a reservation, you start the app, you say that you need a ride, And within about 10 minutes or less, you're usually going. And that's been super helpful. But there's a lot of people who, they have a family and maybe their spouse has a good job, so they can't, you really don't want to leave the neighborhood because you have a good job. But if the spouse is, let's say you're legally blind or you can't drive and there is no public transportation, well, you're kind of screwed unless you have a personal driver to get you anywhere. So that's where, again, these jobs that can offer more working remotely, I really hope that becomes a thing, because I know, several clients that I've worked with in my current job, where if they could find more positions that would allow them to work from home, they're on a farm and their spouse is a farmer, and that's what they do. But they aren't able to go into town to get a job, but they got to keep the family farm running. So that's where I really hope that this sort of mandated working from home is able to open people's eyes a little bit more, these businesses, and make them go, oh, this actually can be a thing, not just during the pandemic, but moving forward, hey, we can actually be more flexible, and, people can be just as productive when given more working options. I don't know about other people, but for myself, I find that I really love working from home. I don't have to commute. I can, get up and walk around my apartment. I have, access to my kitchen at lunch. So if I want to make some leftovers, or if I want to make, if I just want to like make something for lunch and not just bring a sandwich in, I can do that. You know, if I want to work and I want to do a load of laundry, it takes 2 seconds to put something in the washing machine and then go sit back in my office chair until I have to go get it again. There's a lot of things I like about it. You don't have to be around a lot of the constant office gossip and drama. Just not having to constantly hear that all the time. Like, yes, it is nice to be able to be in the office and chat with people. I do miss that. But just some of the, it seems like everybody's always mad or annoyed or pissed off about something. And so it's just this, like, well, this person is, there's always this office gossip or, constant complaining that I don't really hear. And it's kind of nice, I get to use my own equipment, I can use my work computer, my work phone. I can have it hooked up to like my big monitor at home. I can do it however I want. So it's just, there's a lot of things I do like about it. That being said, though, this is also with a lot of things not open or running right now. This is a great opportunity for people to really brush up on their skills and learn new things. So I've tried to take this time, I'm not directly meeting with clients as much as I am. I meet with several of them virtually through Zoom or phone calls or whatever. But because I have more time, I've been doing this LinkedIn learning pilot that our work had signed up for earlier this year. And I've been taking some of these LinkedIn learning courses. I've been attending webinars. I've been attending virtual conferences that pertain to my job. I've been trying to look at and learn some new technology things that I've been wanting to learn but just haven't gotten around to. So, upping my skills. And for people who don't yet have a job, it's a good time to, maybe think about that. Now we have Typer Online. People can learn how to type. All they need access to is a screen reader and the internet. You don't even have to buy the software anymore. You have all this NVDA, narrator, Windows magnifier, voiceover and Zoom on the Mac. You have all these tools built into your technology, your iPhone, iPad, all the stuff that's built into that. So, people are able to kind of learn and build these skills up. And there's Hadley. I should probably do a video on this as well. But we actually had a presentation from Hadley. You remember, like, they used to call it like Hadley School for the Blind. But I think they've really just called themselves Hadley now. Hadley.edu, I believe. And they really redid their whole website and the way they thought about things, the whole way that they thought about training and presenting information. They've really updated their website, and they offer a lot of like video training and tutorials and things like that for not just technology, but like independent living tasks. Yes, a lot of technology, Android, iPhone, computer. There's all kinds of different categories and that they're adding to all of the time. But it's actually a really slick presentation. So maybe I will try to do a video on the new Hadley website and what they can offer in the fairly near future, because I think that would be, it's one thing to have the technology, have access to some assistive technology, but if you don't learn how to use it effectively, you're also, it's not doing much good for you. If you just learn, oh, I can hit tab and enter, or I can flick, and that's what I do, there's so much more that these things can do that will make things easier for you for remaining independent, finding a job, becoming employed, and just giving you overall confidence. That can really help. So, I've been trying to learn new things and try new things, and got some cool things happening. I forgot to mention during the channel update. Hopefully, I'll be able to share more in the next couple of months, but I may theoretically have a really, really cool opportunity coming up in the next month or two. So that's all I'm going to say right now. But some really cool things happening. But I just really did want to talk about this being Disability Employment Awareness Month. That people, if you are a non-disabled person watching this video and you're wondering what people with disabilities, people who are blind or visually impaired, what they can and can't do. I mean, really, we can't drive, we can't fly a plane, we can't do certain things like that, but there's really not a lot that we can't do. I mean, we may have to do it in a different way. We may do it more audibly or in braille or via combination. We may use large print. We may do things tactily instead of visually. We may have to use public transportation instead of hopping in our car. But that's really one of the frustrating problems that I've had over the years is not my disability myself. I've learned to I've been independent for over 20 years. I live independently. I've got my bachelor's, my master's. I've been employed, by ordinary, what would you call it? I mean, to a lot of people, just an ordinary person, that's a pretty decent level of success. I'm holding a full-time job, doing things on the side, and I'm glad, I also sort of wanted to tell briefly my story of how I ended up where I am, this being the Disability Employment Awareness Month. Because, I have things fairly well together now, but it hasn't always been that way. When I graduated high school, I knew that I wanted to do something in computers. At the time, I thought I wanted to do computer programming. I thought, I can make my own programs and tell the computer what to do. I can make programs. I might be able to make some games. I don't know. So I started college right after high school. Literally, I took a couple of classes over the summer right after graduating that May. And so I moved out. It was literally the the day before I turned 18. Went to college, got a quick O&M lesson to learn the campus, and I was starting summer classes that next Monday. And so yeah, I started going to college. I took a couple of computer science classes and tried to do some programming and stuff like that. And I just learned that, taking programming classes, that I was not a good programmer. I didn't enjoy it. I had trouble with it. Yes, I love technology, but there's a lot more to technology, especially nowadays, than programming. So, I always say to people that no, the main thing I learned in programming class is that I suck at programming. So I had to find a new path. So about 3 years in, I transferred from one school, UND, University of North Dakota, to a smaller school nearby, University of Minnesota, Crookston. I took a different technology degree that had a little bit of everything. There was a little bit of programming. There was a little bit of like server management. There was some business stuff. Combination of a lot of being like a business manager or an IT manager, but actually getting your hands dirty, doing some of the server administration stuff, some programming, all that. So I got my degree in information technology and management. And, I while in school, in college especially, I think it's also very important for people to either get a work study job or to find some sort of a part-time job, even if it's not something that is tied to your degree. Maybe you go to school and then you get a part-time job as a waitress, or, working at a retail, if you can, for a little while. Just something to give you that experience on the resume, because yeah, your degree, they're definitely looking for that on your resume, but they're really interested that you can be committed enough to hold down some sort of a job and that you have at least some experience in the real world. So I would find jobs working at the basically a spin-off of the help desk, where we would help university staff. I created some websites. I created some help tools for some of the tools that everyone was using on campus, because we were a very, very laptop and technical oriented campus. So I would find jobs that would do that. While at UND, I worked in the disability services office. I helped train people. I helped convert materials into accessible media. I worked a little bit at the School for the Blind one summer, doing some scanning and preparing materials for people. So having that experience, it some people think, well, this work is beneath me, I need to have something good. No, you have to start somewhere, and you really have to be able to do the entry level work, and then you'll work your way up usually. That's kind of how it works. So, I got my degree. I had, things were looking good. I got my bachelor's degree, information technology management, and then I had a minor in scientific and technical communications. I had some work experience, which I thought was good. And I thought, okay, I'm going to apply for jobs. And even if it's an entry level help desk job, you know what? So be it. It'll pay the bills until I find something better. And that started the hardest part of my life, I think. There was parts of it that were great. I had a lot of fun with my roommates at the time in my first apartment, but it was also the hardest time of my life, because from the time that I graduated until the job, my first temporary job that I got through AmeriCorps, I was unemployed for 3.5 years. And it wasn't for lack of trying. I wasn't just sitting on my butt saying, oh, I'm going to just collect my monthly check. Yay. I was applying for jobs. I took it seriously. It's not like, oh, when you're, one thing that I really have to stress is that doing a real job search, you have to treat, if you really actually want to find a job, especially if you have a disability, maybe you're blind or low vision or other disability, you have to treat that job search like it is a full-time job. Because, I would set aside several hours per day. I would look for jobs on the internet. I would try to, contact people that I knew, see if they knew of any openings. I would work with my Minnesota folk rehab counselor at the time. I was not like, I would look anywhere. Yes, I would like to stay local if I could, but I was not opposed to looking nationwide. I don't have a family at the time. If the job is somewhere and it's something that I know that I can do and I can earn a living, guess what? I'm moving. So I would set aside several hours per day to do this job search. I would have multiple like cover letters that I would create. I would create a specific cover letter for each job that I would do, and I would work off of a few templates. Like if I was applying for, let's say, a help desk job, I would kind of have a template that says, I'm interested in this. This is my experience in this sort of area. If I was looking for an assistive technology job, I would have kind of a cover letter and a resume that was tailored to that. So I had, 2 or 3 different variations of resumes and cover letters and things that I could submit to an employer. Because, yes, you can kind of work from a template, but you don't want to make it sound like when they see it, you don't want to make it sound like, oh, this is just somebody copy and pasted their resume. Clearly they didn't put much effort into it, so why should we hire them? So you had to kind of walk that balance. And then I would create an Excel sheet that would literally have a lot of the information that because I had to keep track of all these jobs that I was applying for. I would have the company name, when did I apply for the job, what job did I apply for, when I would like to hear back, did I get an interview, did I send a thank you letter for the interview, did I, just really quick information. So if I got a call and said, oh, yes, I'm calling, you applied for the blah, blah, blah position at this company, I could quick look at that Excel sheet and go, oh, yeah, okay, yep, that's what this job was. And I could just really quickly familiarize myself with it. And like I said, kind of keeping in contact with that business, all of these businesses throughout your job search process. It's not just like throw your resume in the ether or, have your SSB counselor or your VR counselor, they will find the job for me. I don't have to do anything. No, this is your case. You have to put in the work to do it. And this was like I said, this was one of my most frustrating parts of my life because I was doing all of this effort. I did some mock interviews. I went back to UMC and I asked the career force center or the I don't remember what they called it, but basically like the employment area that would, the college that would try to help you find jobs after you graduated. But I talked to a couple people there that I knew and I said, I just want to make sure that when I'm doing these interviews that I'm doing them well, that I'm presenting myself well. And so I would like to do some mock interviews with you to make sure that I'm not blowing it, because I would fill out these job applications. I would get a lot of phone interviews. I would get a lot of in-person interviews. I would think that I did well in a lot of these cases, but that's where it would always stop. I'd kind of get my hopes up. I'm like, okay, that went well. I think this could work. And then either boom, this was back in the day when companies actually bothered to send you rejection letters. if you didn't get the job. Now they just don't even bother. They just kind of leave you there hanging. But, I used to kind of joke that I could wallpaper my apartment with all the rejection letters that I would get because I got so many. I eventually, I kept a lot of them for a while, but I eventually threw them away just because I had so many. And, you can only apply for so many hundreds of jobs, and being told that you're not good enough or that you didn't get the job for positions that you're qualified for, you can only be told that so long before you kind of start to feel worthless. You kind of start to feel, well, why did I bother? Why did I go get this degree? Why did I, am I going to be one of these statistics of people that just, sit on their couch and collect government money every month? I could barely afford to live on my own back then. I was paying utility bills with my credit cards because I had credit cards. I had to live alone because I couldn't but go home and live with my parents. They lived in the absolute middle of nowhere, and God forbid I had to get to an interview somewhere. That was going to be really tough to do when you live literally out in the middle of nowhere. So I appreciated my parents' offer, but I really couldn't do it because I had to be somewhere where I could quickly, get transportation to a job interview or get to the nearest bigger town so I could take a flight somewhere for an interview. So, I know it's nice to have a monthly check. It's nice, but the amount that you get is so little that, I couldn't even pay my apartment rent right now if I were getting SSI. SSDI might be a little bit better, but it would still be not great. So, I just had a lot of trouble. I was really starting to feel kind of worthless. I was applying for jobs, I was getting interviews, but nothing would go anywhere. And I was starting to be asked during interviews, well, I see on your resume you haven't been working for the past 2.5, 3 years. What have you been doing? Well, I have been taking little spot jobs where I could, and I have been really working full-time toward applying for jobs. I really want to work. I want to be productive. I want to support myself. I don't want to be just sitting there doing nothing. I genuinely wanted to work, and that's what I would tell these employers. So yeah, it was really tough because I was flat broke. Well, actually, I was worse than flat broke because I had some nice debt accumulating. I didn't have a job, obviously, and I just really wasn't sure what to do. About 3 years in, I said, well, I don't know that it's going to help, but I have to do something because of what these employers are always asking me. Well, what are you doing? I was never opposed to the idea of getting a master's degree. But after getting my bachelor's, I wanted more real world job experience. I wanted to start getting a job and earning some money. I wanted to support myself. But it just wasn't happening. So I looked into a few different programs. I had sort of an idea of, well, I don't remember how I found out about it, but I found out about a program at UND on instructional design. And I'm like, that kind of sounds right up my alley because I've done some training with assistive technology. I have the technology background. I have, all these different things. I think I could make that fit. And I think that's kind of a niche type of job that, I could be qualified for some pretty cool jobs. So I started an online master's degree about 3 years in, 3.5 years of being unemployed, I decided to say, what the heck, at least I'm doing something. And I'm learning something, I'm bettering myself. So I started this online master's program on instructional design. And funny enough, about halfway through the first semester, somebody told me I happened on this AmeriCorps position, which is only a 1 to 2 year temporary position, but it was working in a public library system down here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And they were looking for someone who could kind of get their assistive technology workstation. You know, all these libraries were supposed to have a computer workstation that people with disabilities could come in and they could have the same access. So if you were visually impaired, you would have access to a screen reader or magnifier. If you had a mobility impairment and wanted to use something like voice dictation like Dragon, you could come in and use that. And you could still be able to, apply for jobs, do research, and just use the computer like any other member of the public could. And I thought, well, that's a perfect type of job for me. So I got the job, which was somewhat of a relief. It was the experience that I was really going for, because when you're doing AmeriCorps, you get a stipend every month. But I wouldn't exactly call it a paycheck, because essentially you are volunteering, but you're getting a living stipend. So I was still really poor, but I was doing a little bit better. I had more access to public transportation. I had a little bit more money. But I had this job that I was feeling that I was good at. I was getting experience. I was getting something more recent that I could add to my resume. And about 10 months in, I think it was like May or June, I was supposed to work through October, because it was like I started in like an October, and the first year was going to end that next October-ish, September, October, or something like that. And that summer, I had found out about a assistive technology teacher position down in Florida. And this was at a nonprofit, and you were basically working in an office, you were working in their lab, teaching blind and low vision users how to use the computer. And it was working with a lot with seniors, and just, it was a really unique kind of job that, I thought I was really qualified for. I applied for it. Didn't really expect anything, because, it was halfway across the country, and I figured, well, they probably have somebody local already in mind. But I'm laying there. It was a really hot summer, and I only had a little piddly air conditioner that would only really cool the living room. So I plopped my mattress on the floor in my living room. I was sleeping on the floor in the living room to stay cool. I get a phone call that morning, and they called me and they said, oh, they woke me up from sleep. And they said, oh, yeah, we would like to offer you this position. And I was just stunned. I'm like, wait a minute. Somebody wants to offer me a job? And I was half awake. I was trying to wake up. And I was kind of hazy. I was just like, oh, what? You really? And it's like, oh, well, do you not want the job? I'm like, oh, yeah, no. I want the job. I totally do. But I was, like I said, I was just waking up, and they really caught me by surprise. So I had to hurry up and try to get the mandatory hours for this, because you had to work so many hours for this AmeriCorps position. So that day, I went and talked to the head of my AmeriCorps department. We figured out how to kind of get the hours in and what my requirements for completing the program. And then I moved halfway across the country. Did not know a soul. I took the train from Minnesota down to Florida, which I would definitely not recommend if you don't get a sleeper car, because by the time I got down to Florida, it was like 51 hours, and it was just super long, and I was just dead because I couldn't sleep in the regular coach seats very well. But I got a job, and that was my first real, like, full-time, fairly secure, I get a monthly or I get paid twice a month kind of job. Because AmeriCorps, I was still always worried. I'm like, well, I know this is only going to last a year or two tops. What can I do? I still need to keep looking for a more permanent job because eventually this is going to run out. But this bought me a little bit of time. So I worked there for 3.5 years. Liked my job quite a bit. And then I learned about a job back up in Minnesota, closer to home, closer to a lot more people that I knew. And I applied for it again, thinking, I'm not going to get it. I nailed the interview, but I'm probably not going to get it. And lo and behold, I got a call, and they offered me the position, and I have been working for State Services for the Blind here for the past little over about 10.5 years. So that's kind of how my career trajectory went. There was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of struggle. When I graduated high school, did I think that my life would take near the track that it did? Absolutely not. I couldn't have even come close to being predicted. I thought I was going to work for some, big business doing computer programming or web design or something like that. But I somehow, I made mistakes. I struggled. I got really depressed. But I kept fighting because like I said, I did not want to just become a statistic. I didn't want to have to rely on other people for everything. I didn't want to just, sit and collect a government check every month and wonder if that was even going to be enough to live on. So I really, just kept cranking away. And it took me the better part of a decade and a half. But I'm finally in a pretty good spot, and I've learned a lot. I've gained a lot of experience. When I was down in Florida, I was teaching assistive technology. About a month in, my supervisor calls me into her office, and she's like, "You know Braille, right?" "Yeah." "Well, we have this guy who wants to learn just some grade 1 Braille so he can do like Braille labeling on the house. Could you like maybe teach some Braille?" And I'm like, yeah, I guess I probably could. I've never done it, but sure, we'll give it a shot. And for the couple years that I was there, I ended up teaching probably 3, 4, 5, half a dozen people Braille. I mean, they learned it, they started using it. So, you kind of just have to, there's certain things that I would say no to because, like, if they said, "Hey, build us a program," you've done programming, right? No, I would not do a programming thing because I know I couldn't do it. But, within reason, you kind of just have to throw yourself out there and try, try stuff. If you think you might have a chance of learning it or doing it, that's what's really gotten me to where I am. I'm like, okay, I moved to a big city. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I had to learn how to live in a big city. I had to learn to live somewhere where I didn't know anybody. I had to move halfway across the country where I didn't know anybody. Taking these different types of jobs, traveling independently to go to these conferences. Hey, we're work and we're going to send you to this conference. We want you to go to these sessions and bring back information and tell us about it. Okay, we'll do that. And just after I started working here in 2012, I started this YouTube channel just on a weird, crazy whim. And that has kicked off just all kinds of things that I couldn't have imagined even 10 years ago. I've gotten to present at multiple conferences. I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people. I've gotten to work with developers and test things. And, I almost found somebody to be with because of the YouTube channel. I mean, you never know what things are going to turn into, but, we don't want to just sit there and, just kind of let life pass us by. I don't want to have, be older and be like, oh, I just let my life pass me by and I really didn't do anything. And, I still want to, I do take some pride in the fact that, I've gotten to be as successful as I am. And that I keep trying new things and that I'm able to do a lot of the things that I've been able to do. That being said, one of the most frustrating things is, like I said, the non-disabled community drastically underestimating what a blind person, visually impaired person, disabled person can do. I think I mentioned on here before, a couple of years ago, I was getting a package down by the main office in my apartment, and somebody was like, "Oh, wait, you have a job?" Like they were just shocked that somebody with a vision impairment could actually A, live independently, and B, hold down a full-time job. I said, "Yes, I have a full-time job, and it's a full-time job, and I go there every day." People think, oh, a blind person doesn't use a computer. A blind person can't use a smartphone. They just sit and listen to books on tape and, I don't know, have everything brought to them in their home, their recliner, or whatever. I don't know. I've heard so many things like that where it's like people just, they're stunned when you can do the simplest of things. Like, oh my God, you can tie your shoe, you can take a bus, or you can dress yourself, make a meal. Yeah. And that's I think where we are. The technology, we have to do our part. We have to, are we going to have to work twice, three times as hard as everybody else is? Yeah, probably going to have to. Does it suck? Absolutely. But, I think that, especially if you, let's say, just have a vision impairment, to me anyway, that doesn't mean, like, to me, that isn't a thing, that isn't like an excuse to say, well, we shouldn't work. If I have the capability, yeah, I can't see as well, but my brain works, my legs work, my arms work. I can, I could do manual labor. I could work in an office. I could work from home. I could, pending transportation and, other people's opinions of what I can do. We got to get past those barriers, of course. But, we should be, we should be working and paying taxes just like everybody else. We should have the same expectations on us as everyone else does. Yes, there are things, like if you have multiple disabilities or, things that really prevent you from getting out, I totally get that as a thing. And for those cases, that's what these other services, these government services are for. But if we can, I think, if nothing else, to kind of prove society wrong and like, hey, look, we can do something. That's just, I really, really think we've been underestimated, and we've kind of been underestimating ourselves in a lot of cases. I'm just a firm believer in, I take pride in the fact that I'm independent, that I don't have to rely on my parents. I don't have to rely on someone to take care of me, that I'm able to hold down a job. I have a nice apartment. I have fun things to do. And I'm very, very thankful for all of this too. I could be in a really, really bad spot with this corona thing. So many people losing their jobs and even losing their homes. I'm in a really fortunate spot right now, and I don't take that for granted at all. But, I think we do have to do our part. We do have to work hard, and, we can. I don't want to live on that poverty line of, thinking every 2 weeks, am I going to have enough money to eat? Or do I use the money to eat? Or do I use it to pay bills? Do I choose between having shelter or having food? I don't want to live that way. Yeah, I have to pay taxes, but I have this full-time job and I can buy computers. I can go on a trip. I can help other people. I can buy things. I can do things. It's just, I don't want to live that way again. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit of my kind of story. I know it rambled all over the place there, but just kind of gives you an idea of some of the background of where I've been. And because it's been a really struggle and a crazy employment journey for me as well. But to wrap up the video, I do want to talk a little bit about the Apple press conference that they had, their iPhone announcement earlier this week. And I don't know, I have mixed feelings. As we all expected. I mean, here the thing is, everything gets leaked so early now that there were virtually no surprises at all. They announced their 4 new phones. You got their iPhone 12 Mini, the iPhone 12, the iPhone 12 Pro, and the Pro Max. What is it? iPhone Pro Max, I think. Their names are just so crazy. But you have basically a baby phone, like a little phone. You got a regular phone. You've got a little bit bigger phone. And then you've got the ginormous Pro Max model. They all have 5G. They all have OLED screens in them. They all have the faster processor. So they're not really skimping too much on core features like, oh, the iPhone Mini doesn't have as good of a processor, or it doesn't have 5G or whatever. All of the iPhone 12 models do have that. But the main place I think where these phones differ, I almost said cameras differ, but yes, is the cameras. The cameras on the 12 and the 12 Mini are fine. I think they'll be great. And for the average user, I think they'll be really good. The Pro and the Pro Max, those add additional features. They'll have an additional camera. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has this LiDAR sensor. I think that similar to what the earlier iPad Pro did earlier this year. They have more of a zoom range, so you can zoom in further. It's got some more different image stabilization technology, which I am curious about. I mean, admittedly, when I went from my iPhone 7 camera to my iPhone 10 camera, 10s Max, I was pretty happy with the 7. I used it as a CCTV all the time. But when I went to the 10, I mean, I just immediately, I noticed a clarity jump, and not just clarity, but the way the camera would focus. It would focus so much more quickly. The iPhone 7, you kind of had to point it at something, and it would take a second or 3 to focus it, and sometimes you had to move it away and move it back because it wouldn't autofocus on quite what it was supposed to. But what I found is in the iPhone XS Max, the camera just, it just sees what it wants to see, and it focuses almost immediately. And, with the additional zoom capability, with the image stabilization, I am curious. On, and I love the big screens. So they're going from a 6.5 to a 6.7, believe it or not, inch screen on the Pro Max. So this thing is ginormous. But admittedly, I am intrigued. However, I don't know that I'm intrigued enough to buy any of them. I want to say, what was it? The Mini starts at $599 or something like that. And then these phones, you have and you have the SE still in place. So you can start anywhere from like $399 all the way up to about $1,200 if you go for the big phone. So you have kind of an iPhone available for whatever price range, whatever price you want to sort of shoot for. You mainly just have to look at the screen size, the cameras, the battery. And here's the disappointing thing. A coworker of mine was really looking into the iPhone 12 mini, and I didn't hear back from him. I wonder if he actually pre-ordered the iPhone 12 yesterday. But he was going to get the iPhone 12 mini, and I said, it's a neat design, but I've been reading a lot of different places that the battery is really small, and it's even compared to the iPhone 11, it's about 2 hours less of battery life. And he looked into it, and he calls me later on Thursday again and goes, yeah, boy, I think I did my own research, and as much as I love the small form factor, like I use my phone too much, because he's totally blind, and he uses it as his internet device. He uses it as his communication device, as his assistive technology. So like me, he's using his phone all the time, off and on all day. And that little iPhone 12 mini battery is not going to get him there. So if he was going to get a new model, he was looking at the iPhone 12 just for the battery. So that is one caveat that I said, if you're interested in the iPhone 12 mini, maybe weigh, kind of think to yourself, how much do you use this thing? And do you want to sacrifice a really small battery? Or you're probably going to have to get some sort of a battery case, either through Apple or Mophie or something like that. Get a battery case just to make up for what this tiny phone is lacking in battery power. But, the iPhone, any of these sound good. They don't have Touch ID in the power button like I was hoping they would. They announced that for the iPad last month, the iPad Air that's coming out. I want to play with the camera. I want to play with the 5G. But again, 5G right now, yeah, it's out there, and Apple and Verizon and all these cellular companies are making a big deal about it. But the normal type of 5G that most people are going to encounter, if they encounter it at all, is going to be slightly faster than LTE is right now. And in some cases, I've even heard it isn't even quite as good. So it's going to take time for that to build up. I mean, yes, you can buy a phone now and future-proof it. So what I would think is, if you have an older phone, if you have anything from like an 8 earlier, it's probably not, like if you're considering upgrading, it's probably not a bad idea, because you're getting up to date on the new form factor. You don't have a home button, but you have your Face ID. You have your faster processor. You have your better cameras for magnification, OCR, that kind of a thing. And you'll have the potential for better 5G in the future. But if you're just looking at it because I want a new iPhone, I want a new toy, and I can brag, and you already have like an iPhone 10, 11, I don't know that, if you're really thinking about buying it just for 5G, I don't know that that's worth, especially if you're looking at one of the Pro models that is a bit more on the spendy side. I don't know that is really justifiable unless you just have a lot of money to blow. And that's where I'm stuck, because I have the iPhone XS Max, and overall it runs pretty darn well. iOS 14 runs pretty great on it. Things are still responsive. Things are still pretty darn fast. My coworker did have a good point of mentioning, the new image recognition technology that they put into VoiceOver that can kind of slow things down a little bit. I see it kind of hitching every once in a while when it tries to do that kind of a thing. Maybe that'll be better on the 12 series phones. But otherwise, I mean, all the things that I normally do on my phone, apps still open quickly right away. I can OCR text quickly. I can, check my mail, use YouTube, use the internet. Any of the dozens of tasks that I regularly do, it's not running badly, kind of like it was on my work 6 Plus, about a year ago. That definitely needed to be upgraded. But as much as I want to play with the 5G and I want to play with the new cameras, I think I can hold out for another year. There's about a 10%, maybe 15% of me that wants to get the new phone just to kind of play with it and see how well it does and have access to the camera and the 5G. But I'm about 85%, 90% thinking I'm going to wait. I think if I wait one more year, 5G will be better. Maybe we'll get Touch ID in the side button. Maybe we'll get under the screen Touch ID. Maybe we'll get a smaller or no notch. Because right now my XS Max is still hanging in there pretty well. So, I mean, there's a slim chance that I could decide to go for a new phone. Like if I somehow find a really good deal or something, somehow, or some kind of promotion, maybe. But I don't know that I'm going to be getting a new phone either this year. I'm not getting a new watch. I'm not getting a new phone. I'm not getting a new console. I'm not getting a new console. The biggest thing that I'm going to be looking into that's going to be a pretty pricey deal is I'm going to be upgrading my PC at some point in the next probably 6 months. So that's really what the Apple event had. It did start out with the HomePod Mini, a $99 version of their HomePod speaker, which admittedly, if you are in the ecosystem, if you're heavily in the Apple ecosystem, is not maybe a bad way to go. I don't know what the audio quality sounds like, but I would venture to say it's probably okay. But you really have to be vested in Apple's ecosystem, their music, if you got to like Siri, which they say Siri is so much smarter now. I'm like, I don't know about that. I think Amazon and Google run circles around you, but sure, whatever. I use iPhone, but I don't use a lot of Apple services. I don't really use Apple Music. I don't use much Apple TV. I don't use a lot of their stuff. And I know they said they're going to support things like Spotify and Pandora eventually, but I don't use those all that much either. I use Pandora a little bit, but mainly I use Google Music. And darn good and well that I'm pretty sure Apple's not going to allow native or YouTube music now on their speaker. I could be wrong, but Google's got their ecosystem, Apple's got theirs, and I just don't foresee native YouTube music being a part of that speaker. So a lot of what I want to do, I don't think that's going to be worth me getting other than sheer curiosity either. But, I mean, if you're looking for a smart speaker, if you want to use Apple's ecosystem, you want to use HomeKit, all that kind of a stuff, that's much more of I think a good deal than their $350 bigger speaker. It's affordable. You can get something in. They said you can pair multiples together, and you can use them like an intercom. You can use them as like a multiple speaker setup. So you could put more than one together. I mean, it's neat, but I think they just need to have support for other services more. And I think Siri just needs to really get better than they say that it actually is. So that is really what Apple said in their event earlier this week. It was all about the HomePod Mini for a little bit, and then it was all about the 4 new cameras that are coming out this and next month. And by cameras, I mean iPhones, of course, because everywhere on Twitter I was seeing, man, they're releasing all these cameras that happen to make phone calls every once in a while. And yeah, because that's all they really talked about. Is they talked a little bit about the processors, but it's all about the cameras. That's what they spent the vast majority of time talking about. But as I'm recording this video, you can pre-order the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro now. But if you want the Mini or the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you have to wait till November 6th to pre-order those, and then they will be released a week later. They are not going to have an AC adapter or headphones in the box, which we, again, pretty much knew was going to be a thing. They claim it's for saving the environment, but interestingly, I learned that I always just, I really didn't buy that, really. What I found, though, is up until now, the cables that we've gotten in iPhones and iPads have been USB-A, the big ones, to Lightning, or USB-C for the new iPads. The cables that are going to be coming in the iPhone 12 boxes may be a problem because it's going to be a USB-C to Lightning adapter, meaning you have to either have a USB hub or a modern Mac, or you're going to have to buy your own AC power, your AC brick, because, most USB cables that come with phones and devices, it comes with the big regular USB-A port or A plug, which you plug into most computers or power strips that have USB ports in them, or a USB hub like I have by my bed or on my stand by my couch here. Most people don't have AC adapters that have the little USB-C cable. So that's kind of a surprise. I can't remember if they said they were going to put an adapter in with it, like a USB-C to USB-A adapter, because that's going to be... I thought I heard a rumor of that somewhere, but I haven't got it confirmed. But at the very least, they're going to be using this USB-C to Lightning adapter. And a lot of people are not going to have... They're going to be mighty surprised to learn that, oh, crap, I don't have anything to plug this into. So it's kind of a way to be like, well, we're going to give you the cord, but you're still going to have to give us more money, because now you're going to have to buy this new adapter because your old power bricks that you had for your old iPhones, guess what? They don't work anymore. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that are unpleasantly surprised at that development if they order one of these new phones. So just a heads up on that for you guys. But I think this has been a really long video as it is. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys found it helpful. I didn't want to really be preachy on the whole employment thing, but it is definitely one of the, I love gaming, I love assistive technology, but that is one of my passions. Another passion of mine is really just, that's why I do my day job, is I want to help people do what they want to do. I don't want them to have to be limited to think, well, I can't do anything, I'm blind. I've been told that I can't do anything because I'm blind. That's why we want to help people find jobs and be successful. So I just wanted to give you a little bit about on my story and just a few of my thoughts for Disability Employment Awareness Month. Chat a little bit about Apple. We got some great new gaming stuff on the way. Even though I'm not going to be getting new consoles, I'm still going to be doing a lot with gaming. We got some cool stuff coming up, maybe a few surprises. We're going to try to keep streaming on Saturdays. I have this new chat plugin or chat thing that reads them aloud to me, so that's made life easier as well. So yeah, I mean, overall, things are still looking pretty good. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. You can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, or right here on YouTube. Anyway, we'll wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until next time, I'll chat with you guys again later.